Let's talk about three major signings right now on FFT Express. All right, Jamie, I think Doc Gooden is doing a baseball card signing in my town this weekend or pretty soon. So we could talk about that. Seems like a major signing. But if you don't want to talk about that, we could talk about Daniel Jones to the Colts, Najee Harris to the Chargers, and Javonte Williams to the Cowboys. Rank them in terms of fantasy relevance.
Najee Harris 1. Go with Javonte Williams 2, Daniel Jones 3.
I still, the more I think about it, like I think this couldn't have worked out much better for Anthony Richardson. I think you said, if you can't beat out Daniel Jones, or maybe Dave said it, if you can't beat out Daniel Jones, that's a problem. But I'd rather him have to beat out Daniel Jones than Aaron Rodgers.
I don't think he was beating out Aaron Rodgers. I think if they brought in Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson, they were telling you what they were going to do, and they were going to, sit Anthony Richardson down and see how he, learns and develops and grows as a professional and what he does in practice. And then if that guy would have struggled, then they bring him in to sort of what happened last year. After they sat him down and Flacco took over, and then they saw him doing the right things. This is what Chris Ballard said, that they were going to bring in someone for competition, and I think it's a smart move from their franchise perspective, just from the standpoint of they don't have to change things. Daniel Jones can do the exact same things offensively that Anthony Richardson can do. He's going to be a mobile quarterback and do the same, RPOs and get out of the pocket and do those, keep the playbook the same. The problem is that he's not going to help the receivers. We didn't really spend a lot of time talking about that. What this means for Pittman and Josh Downs and those guys. So that's a complete downgrade across the board because, like you kept saying last year, which you were proven right, that if Richardson was going to get hurt, then you would have a lot of interest in Michael Pittman and Josh Downs. And we saw those guys' numbers pop when Richardson got hurt and was benched, and Flacco took over. That's not the same feeling right now. Like, I can see Downs, as we talked about in Dynasty, I can see Downs still being productive, but not maximizing his ceiling. Just because, again, Daniel Jones likes to throw to his slot receiver. So we'll see how that all plays out. But I think for Richardson, again, fantasy versus reality. He can be one of the best fantasy quarterbacks if he just improves a little bit as a passer because of what he does with his legs. But he's got to improve a lot as a passer to be a better NFL quarterback.
The highs have been so high for Anthony Richardson. If you look at the games that he's played more than 90% of the snaps in his last 2 seasons, there's only 2 seasons, Richardson's averaged, which this number was a little bit disappointing to me. I thought it'd be higher. He's averaged 19.3 fantasy points per game. So, I mean, the beginning, the first half of this past season, 2024, was awful for him. He had 1 good game. Then he got benched, and he came back and was pretty solid. He was number 8 quarterback per game in 4-point per passing touchdown leagues in his last 5 games, number 13 in 6-point per pass touchdown leagues. When I watch the Colts, he's one of my favorite quarterbacks to watch because it's like watching WWE. You never know what's going to happen. I mean, someone could come in and hit him with a chair, and it's just like any outcome is possible on any given play. It could be a fumble, it could be a pick six, could be an 80-yard touchdown pass, could be a 60-yard touchdown run, or we could be hard to have a 60-yard touchdown run or an 80-yard touchdown pass on the same play. But you get my point.
Interesting description for 2 reasons. One, you say you don't know what's going to happen when the WWE is scripted.
Yeah, I know, but you don't know. Like they know.
And 2, you don't watch wrestling.
I'm just, but you get my point. He's so wild. I don't watch wrestling. But the thing is with Richardson is he puts up this production while also making a lot of bad plays, turning the ball over, missing wide open receivers. I really think like if he plays good quarterback, he could be the number 1 quarterback in fantasy. That might sound crazy, but there are so many opportunities in this offense when he's playing quarterback that he has just missed. And it's so enticing. And I definitely want to draft me some Anthony Richardson this year.
He's got to get to north of 800 rushing yards for that to happen.
And his pace last year was 808 rushing yards if you remove week 4, which he left with an injury.
If he can do that and be a 3,000-yard passer, then he's in the conversation. You know what Fields was on pace for?
His pace was 2,900 yards.
Fields was on pace for last year with his 6 starts was like 3,100 and 800 rushing and 14 passing touchdowns, 14 rushing touchdowns also.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And only 3 interceptions, whereas Richardson was on pace for more interceptions than touchdown passes.
Yeah.
Number one is like, obviously there's no way anyone would predict that, but I'm just saying there's so much potential for him. All right, let's talk about the running backs when we come back on FFT Express. All right, so how do you like Najee Harris? How do you like Javonte Williams? Najee to the Chargers, Javonte to the Cowboys.
As we sit here today on March 11th, I like it a lot. They both have the chance to be the starter, more so Najee than Javonte. But I think in the case of Najee, look, they move on from J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards, who are both free agents, and they go out and they target, one of the better running backs in the free agent class. Clearly, it's not the same as the 2024 group when it was Barkley and Henry and Mixon and Jacobs. But Najee has proven a couple of things: to be consistent with his production and does not miss games and does not fumble. And so, you know what you're getting if he kind of just carries over that production from Pittsburgh, which is 1,000 yards rushing, 6 rushing touchdowns, 36 catches, and 200 or 300 receiving yards. So you're going to get a good number 2 running back here, I think, if he can increase his touchdowns. And Dobbins just scored 9 in 13 games. Obviously, Dobbins is a more explosive running back, even with all the injuries that he suffered. But I think Najee ended up in a great spot. Good offensive line, certainly a team that's committed to running the ball. And if they don't add somebody of significance, we may get a pretty good price tag on him for somebody that, for me, the earliest I would consider looking at him is round 5. I'd like to get him obviously a little bit later, but I think that's the range where you start to see the running backs from like 18, 19, 20 start to come off the board. Speaking of boards, just fell.
A board coming off the wall.
In the case of Javonte, this is a signing that just screams backup. And so they could still bring back Rico Dowdle, who's an unrestricted free agent. I expect them to go into the draft and try and find somebody. But just think of Javonte Williams basically as the Ezekiel Elliott replacement, as the backup running back in Dallas. Can hopefully have some good moments, coming off a 52 catch season in Denver. So can maybe have some value in PPR leagues as a late round pick. But I'd be very surprised if he's a starter for the Cowboys.
Okay, ready? Here's my optimistic view. What year did Chris Godwin tear his ACL? That 2021?
No, I think it was 22, because then 23 was the rough year. 24 was.
No, it was 2021. Okay. So 2021, late 2021, Godwin tears his ACL. 2022, he comes back. He does not have a very good year. 2023, he also didn't have a very good year. 1,000 yards, 2 touchdowns in 17 games. And then Chris Godwin himself said that he didn't even feel right until I think like midway through the 2023 season after tearing his ACL in 2021. It was a long recovery. If the Cowboys strike gold with Javonte Williams, if he just needed that extra year to recover from a very, very serious knee injury, he tore multiple ligaments 3 seasons ago, then it's going to be an amazing signing of 1 year, $3 million, because he was a really good player as a rookie. So that would be my optimistic spin there for Javonte, who also has proven himself to be a pretty good pass blocker in the NFL. Jamie, we've talked about these guys a lot today, like broken record. I hope you don't have to go on HQ and talk about them.
Nope.
Okay, good. So check out FFT Dynasty. We talked about them there. The full-length show. You got the 8-minute version here on FFT Express. And we'll talk to you on Thursday on FFT Express. Maybe Wednesday. I think Thursday. Stay tuned. See you later.